circle, day 4. To be honest, I don't have anything new to teach you. What we need to do is just practice the things that we have been learning for the past 3 days. So let's hit the highlights. First thing, you have to know the unit circle. No ifs, ands, whats, buts about it, okay? Remember, those coordinates are cosine, sine. The way that I keep them straight is that they're alphabetical. Cosine x, sine y. Tangent and cotangent have special ratios. Cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. Secant is the reciprocal of cosine. The way that I've written it on the screen, that's just how we write reciprocal. No negative angle measurements, ever. You have to use the coterminal angles, okay? So you're either going to add 360 or add 2 pi. Don't forget to look out for loops. So that's if the angle is bigger than 360 or bigger than 2 pi. You'll have to subtract it the full rotation. So something new. Something else that I could do is I could use one or more trig ratios and then ask you to find other trig ratios. So here I'm going to ask you to find cosine and tangent using some information that I'm going to provide you, okay? So you are going to have to consider a lot of elements. First one, we are going to have sine theta is going to be equal to 3 over 7, and tangent theta is less than 0. So if sine is 3 over 7, that means y is positive. Y is positive in quadrant 1 and quadrant 2. Tangent. This means negative, okay? Tangent theta is less than 0. So that has to be a combination of positive and negative, so that's quadrant 2 and 3. They match in quadrant 2. In quadrant 2, cosine is negative, sine is positive. So now let's consider our triangle. So we're going to use what we know about trigs, where we have opposite and hypotenuse, and then Pythagorean theorem to find the missing side. So when I find my missing side, I'm going to get 2 root 10. Put it in there, label your triangle O, A, and H, and then now we can determine the missing figures. So cosine, we want negative root 10 over 7 because it's negative in quadrant 2, and tangent's going to be negative 3 over 2 root 10. Rationalize that denominator, you've got negative 3 root 10 over 20, okay? If you need to watch that again, I would advise that. Pause, rewind. All right, this time, secant theta is going to be 3, and sine theta is going to be greater than 0. Secant theta being positive, that's going to occur when cosine is also positive. Cosine is positive in quadrant 1 and quadrant 4. Sine is positive in quadrant 1 and quadrant 2. Quadrant 1 is our match. So in quadrant 1, cosine and sine are going to be positive, so that means all of my answers are going to be positive. Draw out your triangle, label what you know. Hypotenuse is 3, adjacent is 1. Use Pythagorean theorem to find the missing side. So I'm going to have 9 equals 1 plus b. Subtract that 8, square root it, so you're going to have 2 root 2. Label your triangle O, A, H. Then for cosine, cosine's going to be positive this time. So I'm going to have 1 over 3. Tangent, 2 root 2 over 1. You really don't need the over 1, so it's really just 2 root 2. Again, if you need to watch it again, listen to it again, pause, rewind. I'm going to do one more. This time we're going to know that cotangent is undefined. Secant theta is going to be negative. So cotangent is undefined when 0 is in the denominator, okay? So you have something like 1 over 0. So cosine is 1, sine is 0. Therefore, you're on the x-axis. When secant is negative, that means cosine is negative. So that means x is negative. Therefore, the point we're going to be looking at is negative 1, 0. So notice that I didn't even touch a triangle this time. Okay, so I'm going to go to my unit circle to find the rest of my information. Cosine is negative 1. Tangent, we're going to do 0 over negative 1, which simplifies to 0. Your turn.